Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? It's so quiet. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me talking? Thank you, Yesenia. I'm back at home. I know it's depressing. Yeah, that's okay. My sister's at the beach. And it's my sister's birthday, so I figured that's probably a good birthday present for her, right? To be able to be at the beach. No yawning, Olivia. You're going to make me tired. I'm already tired. I'm already tired. I don't need any help in that category. So. Anyone have midterms yet? Oh no, it's too early. I have midterms in my 8-week class. I teach an 8-week class, so they're in week 4, right? So that's halfway. It's crazy to think of. Anyone remember to wear a shirt today? I mean, a t-shirt is what I meant that you wanted to share. Sometimes I have trouble speaking. You know, I have one, but this is a good one because you can't see it yet. I can't share it. I will wait to share it. We almost have everyone. So what else is going on? Anyone have a good class that they love besides your math class, of course? I know this is tops, but no, Malachi's like, nope, I got nothing. Anyone taking a good class? There's anyone who needs science. There's a natural disasters class that's supposed to be really good. I can't remember the teacher, but it's supposed to be really good curriculum. No one likes their classes? Come on. Somebody's got to like their classes. I mean, I know you like this one. Oh my gosh. That was my favorite part of classes. I was pretty good at picking my classes. There was usually one I just really liked. I took like a film class that I really liked. So it was once a week and we just went and watched movies and talked about them. That was a great class. Except for my teacher was a huge Woody Allen fan. And I'm not a huge Woody Allen fan. And so my first paper I wrote said how much I did not like the film, and I got a bad grade. So the next one, it was again a Woody Allen film, which I did not sign up for. Let's watch Woody Allen films, just in case you were wondering. That's not the title of the class. And so the next paper, I wrote how amazing the movie was, even though I didn't think that. And I got an A. So, lesson learned, right? It wasn't about how I was writing, it was grading my opinion, which I was not a fan of. That was not at MCC, but it's still annoying. I'm sure you've had teachers that do that. Yeah, not a fan, but that was a fun class. I also took usually at every school, there's a really good like world religions class. if you have any interest in learning about religions of the world, they're fascinating. So that's usually a good class. Nobody's taking a great class that they just love. That's very depressing. Okay, well, talk to each other, find a good class to take next semester, right? When we're back in person, maybe. That'll be so exciting. I mean, that's the plan right now. I don't know if that's really true, but we'll see. Okay, so happy Tuesday. I have another quote. This time it's by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's one of my favorites. The time is always right to do what is right. I love that. Okay, t-shirts from anyone? T-shirts, t-shirts. No. Okay, well then you just get mine and then we have to move on. It's sad. I know you guys have to come up with a different name. Remember I told you if it's Taco Tuesday, I'm fine, but you just got to tell me where to get tacos. Right? Speaking of, I don't know what we're having for dinner tonight because my daughter has a soccer game and then she has choir. So I feel like it's tacos somewhere. So if you have any good taco places, please share. Okay, are you prepared for my math shirt? Yeah, you sure? Okay, we'll see. Yeah, thanks for the party hat. Thanks, Marty. Yeah, I'm always right. Do you think my husband appreciates this shirt? He does, because it's facts. I am always right. Just kidding. Well, not really. I actually am. It's true. Not really. Okay, but what a fun shirt, right? Actually, my niece gave me this shirt. Do you think that's saying something? Yeah, I don't know. She's kind of sassy. She lives in Hawaii. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, there's the craziest dog barking outside, and it's not my dog, but it's like sounds. Oh, now my dogs are barking, but it sounds very. Whatever that dog was, I was scared of it. Like, sounded like it was hurt. Don't that. Okay, so how many of you started on your homework yesterday? Anyone? Yesenia's like I did. Valerie did. Okay, Valerie asked a great question. She popped into office hours. Valerie, how long were you there? Maybe 2 minutes? Right? Maybe 2 minutes. Got her question answered. Here was her question. Pardon the dogs barking. Her question was, when she's doing the reading, it says complete the exercises and it says submit the quiz. So she was asking, does she have to submit those exercises? You don't. In the readings, there's just some you try problems. So you should try them. And then the answers are at the end of the reading. Did you see that? That the answers are there. So you try it without looking at the answer, compare your answer. Hopefully you get it right. And then all you're doing on the quiz on Canvas is checking the box that said, I read my reading and I tried some of these exercises. So, because if you really do that, then I think you'll be on top of it. I don't think you'll have any trouble. So Valerie, great question. Any other questions about homework, assignments, anything like that? Good to go. All right. So I have a nice warm up for you. Sorry I didn't. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what was happening there. Sorry I didn't print it for you, but hopefully you can see it. It's similar to one we did yesterday in our small groups, if you the voter problem. So the only thing changed is now the numbers. So try this problem without looking at your notes. Yes, without looking at your notes. So here's the question. The city of Raleigh has 7,000 registered voters. There's 2 candidates for an upcoming election, Brown and Felice. The day before the election, a telephone poll of 550 randomly selected registered voters was conducted. 237 said they'd vote for Brown, 267 said they'd vote for Felice, and 46 were undecided. Use the information from the sample to complete the following statements about the population of all registered voters in Raleigh. Round your answers to the nearest person. So how many would you expect vote for Brown? How many would you expect vote for Felice? And then how many are still undecided? So I don't want a percentage there. I want a number of voters. Yes? Okay, so try that. Try it by yourself. When you have an answer, privately chat me that you have an answer, and if you want to tell me what they are, as long as you privately chat me, that's fine. Go for it. Also, if you're stuck or you don't know what to do, make sure you're privately chatting with me so I can point you in the right direction. But I should get answers for everyone, from everyone. All right, so I have some answers, but they're very, very different. So I'm going to tell you right now, don't round until the end, right? So again, don't round till the very end. So don't round your percentage, right, that you find before you multiply. So for example, make sure you're not rounding till the very, very end. And we're going to go over it in a minute. I'm answering some private chats. I just want to make sure everybody tries it first. If you're waiting for me to answer, that's fine. You're just in a little line behind people. Thank you for being patient. It just takes a while to answer everyone individually. Some of you, I gave you some answers, and I need you to, or gave you some hints. I need you to give me your answer. All right. So, you guys need to learn some strategies because you're going to get all your answers wrong on more if you're not careful, right? So when it says to round, it doesn't want you to do it until the very, very end. And that goes for every single problem from here until you're done. Okay. Because every time you round, you've changed your answer a little bit. So we want to save the rounding for the very, very end. And the way you do that is by using a great tool like this or a tool like the Desmos calculator. So let's look at the answers and then we'll all try to calculate it on our calculators to make sure we get the same thing. So you should not be using your phone. You should be using the Desmos scientific calculator. You can use the Wabbit Emu simulator emulator on your phone if you want, but don't just use your phone because you're going to practice whatever you practice with. That's what you're going to take the quizzes with. So you need to start practicing with whatever device that is, and it cannot be your phone. Okay. So these are the answers you should have gotten. 3016 for Brown, 3398 for Felice, and 585 for undecided. Now, if you total all three of those, if you add 3000, oh, that's a terrible color. If you add 3016 plus 3398 plus 585, tell me what you get.
6,999.
You get 6,999, which isn't exactly our 7,000 voters, but it's close, right? If you took some of your other numbers that you guys gave me in the chat and added them, they're not close, right? They're not close to 7,000. So why are these off by a little bit? If you noticed when you were doing your calculations, these continued. This was like 3, 6, something, something, something. This was like 1, 8, something, something, something. This was like 4, 5, something, something, something. So if you notice, all of these are going to sum to that last person. So where does that person go? We don't really know. So since it said round to the nearest person, this first one for Brown rounded to just 3016 because that was a 3. The second one for Felice rounded to 3,398 because that was a 1 to the right of the decimal. And 585 rounded to just 585 because of that 4. Now, if I really wanted them to sum to 7,000, where would you put that other person? Let's type it in the chat. If you really wanted it to sum to 7,000 and you didn't want to ruin our poll, right? Where would you put it? You can either type Brown, Felice, or undecided. 3, 2, 1, go. Very nice. You're all putting it in undecided, right? Because that was the highest out of these 3 to the right of the decimal, and that's not going to affect anything. You didn't give Brown an extra vote or Felice an extra vote. You just said that person probably just doesn't know yet, right? Okay, so what are you doing wrong in your calculators? In your calculators, if we were just doing Brown, we would take 237 divided by 550. So 237 divided by 550. And then we're going to multiply by 7,000. Do all of that in one pass on your calculator. Don't do the first part, round it, and then multiply it. Yesterday, we did do the first part and then we multiplied it. But did you notice the ones we did in class? We didn't have to round them. The one came out perfectly to 32%, and the other one came out perfectly to 50%. That's not going to happen every time. So I'm going to show you on my Desmos scientific calculator what it looks like. And if you haven't tried Desmos yet, I'm going to say try it, try it, try it. because it's very nice. So on my Desmos Scientific, I'm just going to go, what was the number? 247? Is that what it was? Or 57?
37, I do believe.
Oh, 37? Is that
Uh-huh.
what it was?
Yeah.
37?
Divided by
Okay.
550. Yeah.
Divided by 550 and then times 7,000. So do you see it gives me the answer right there? But you have to be careful and not do it in two separate steps. Get used to doing it all in one step. Okay, because then your rounding doesn't happen till the very, very end. Questions on that? Everybody who had rounding issues, do it right now on your calculator and make sure you're getting that same answer. I don't want to call you out, but I know who you are. So make sure everybody give me a thumbs up or type to me privately in the chat that you fixed it, that you know what's happening. And some of you aren't answering me at all in the chat, by the way, ever. Very nice. I see Yesenia, Olivia, Malachi, Jenday, Marty, Amanda, Amari, AJ. You're all giving me thumbs ups. Good. And I see some of you in the chat. Aaron. Everybody okay? So, because more is very picky, right? Because it's a computer program. So good job, Ashley. It's going to mark you wrong if you do it in those two separate steps because your answer won't be close enough. Sorry, it's dog barking Tuesday. So, yeah, I'm home now. I know you're like, well, go back to the beach where there was just waves. We didn't hear your dogs at all. Yeah, believe me, that's where I want to be too. But my dogs did miss me. Okay. So I know we spent a long time on that, but that's really important that we correct those mistakes now before you're super frustrated on more because you're actually doing the math correctly. You're just bringing in the wrong answer because you're rounding too early. Okay. So we want to fix that while we're here. Any other questions about that problem? There's usually one like that on your quiz that will come up, right? So that's another reason to spend time on that. All right. So we got to do a little bit more vocabulary today. We have to talk about bias, and then we'll be all done with S1, which is Intro to Statistics. These are strange words. These next few words that we talk about, I usually don't ask you the specific vocabulary. I just want you to notice some things and be aware of it. So when you're a consumer of statistics, you know what to look for. Okay. So confounding and the placebo effect. Now, a confounding error or a confounding problem in a study is a big problem, and it's pretty common. So notice it says there's two or more potential variables that could have caused the outcome, and it's not possible to determine which actually caused the result. In a research study, you have to be very specific about what you're testing, and you have to control as much else as you can. If you're not careful, there could be something else that's affecting the outcome of your study. And so confounding error, right? You can't really tell what's happening. For example, right now with COVID, they're noticing that the different strains, right, are reacting in different people as well. Have you looked at the age group differences? So in the elderly, they tend to get very specific symptoms. That would be the respiratory symptoms, right? And the fever and things like that. But in your age group, say, well, most of your age groups, right? In the 20 to 30-year-olds, does anyone know what symptom they're exhibiting most often? A lot of times it's not a respiratory. Who knows? Were you going to say?
I was gonna say lack of taste and smell.
Yeah, they're having that, which they don't really understand why they're having it. And then the other thing that's not occurring very often, but more often than in the elderly, is they're having heart issues or strokes. Have you heard of this? Really young individuals, like 20-year-olds, are having strokes. And it's a complication of COVID, and people don't know that is a possibility, right? So now people who have exhibited those strange symptoms, like Marty explained, of loss of taste and smell, even if they had minor symptoms, some of them are getting EKGs and other exams to make sure that they don't have some strange blood clotting problem that's going to affect them adversely. Isn't that weird? So this would be a confounding problem, right? How do we isolate that? How do we know what's causing what? In different age groups, we have different problems. So that can be an issue. Also, if you're just not real careful in your study, right? That's why they're usually, has anyone applied to be in a study for something like a medical study? You know, you always see those advertisements. Like, do you have type 2 diabetes? Do you have this? Do you have this? And if you've ever been a researcher or been looked at those for those, they're very careful about the criteria. Like they look at your background. Have you ever had any of these conditions? Do you have any? Because they're trying to isolate what they're really looking for, and their results are accurate, right? So this can be a big issue. Hopefully, I didn't stress anyone out with talking about strokes or heart attacks or anything like that. So you're fine. I'm just saying, like, be careful, right? If you exhibit any symptoms, make sure you get medical attention, right? Regardless, if you think it, even if you read through the whole list of symptoms and you're like, I don't have any of those, if you have a weird symptom, tell someone, right? That's how the taste and smell came about, right? People didn't even know that was a symptom for a while because it's so neurological, and then it just kept coming up so much. So now it's more common that we know that. The placebo effect we talked a little bit about yesterday, right? Anyone want to explain in their own words what the placebo effect is or have an idea?
Um, like like you're taking something that's fake of something else, but you think it's the real thing, I guess, in a sense.
That is absolutely correct, Malachi. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if your parents ever did this. Parents do this all the time with their little kids, right? Any kid ever fall down and their parent kissed it? Oh, let mommy kiss it and make it better. That's the placebo effect, right? Your mom didn't really make it feel better by kissing it, right? Maybe she made you feel better emotionally, but that's the placebo effect. Oh yeah, I did. And little tiny kids, I had a niece who would come up to whoever, random strangers at the park, and if she fell down, and she would go, "Oh, kiss it," because that's what would make it feel better. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't work, right? I'm a very sensitive mom, can you tell? So there you go. So that could be considered the placebo effect. But usually it's like Malachi said, you're in a study and you're taking a medication and you think it's helping you, even though it is nothing that would help you. All right. Um, Here's one. We kind of went over that yesterday. So let's talk about sources of bias. So this is huge. Marty, I know you were interested in this yesterday. We were talking about how like researchers, obviously they have a vested interest in whether their drug companies get approval, right? So they might see some things that aren't there, or, just looking at their research through a particular lens. So let's look at these sources of bias. Read through those. You probably read through them on your lesson, but read through those for a minute and see if you can come up with an example for any of those. You don't have to do all of them, but see if you can come up with an example for any of them. I'll give you about 2 minutes and then I'll ask you to share out. Okay, I'll give you about 30 more seconds and then I'm randomly going to call on you. So be prepared. Yes. All right. I'll take volunteers first and then we'll do voluntold. So anyone have an example of any of these? A sampling bias, a voluntary response bias, a self-interest study, or just a response bias? You can make them up.
Could a response bias be? I've been in situations where they'll lie on purpose based on the information they get so that they can get placed in certain groups.
Yeah. Like, are you talking like in class or where have you seen it?
In class, like we would do personality tests and everyone would try to get into the same little group so they could be with each other. So they would lie about the information to try to get into the group.
That is absolutely a response bias. Good example, Yesenia. Any other examples of any of these?
I would say a good example of a self-interest study is when a politician puts out polls that they generate on their own.
Yes, for sure. And they send them out to specific people as well,
Right.
right?
So it would be a sampling bias and probably a voluntary response bias at all three at the same time. So
Yeah, so you'll notice a lot of these will go together, right?
mhm.
A self-interest study is things like Marty was talking about, or if you have like a soft drink, right? And so you put out you're the soft drink company and you send out a survey about your soft drink. So that's a self-interest study. That's why companies are supposed to hire independent places. Does anyone do surveys like on the side, like to get paid for them? Has anyone never done that? Oh my gosh, you people, when I was a poor college student, that's all I did. So there's a company called Fieldwork Phoenix here in town. Has anyone heard of them? Fieldwork Phoenix, if you sign up for them, they call you and they ask you questions, and they are a third party. They're an independent company that does surveys, market studies for people. My kids have done them before too. Like you go there for like 2 hours and you get paid like $125. Yeah, I'll go there for 2 hours and get paid $125. So my son did it on sports drinks. It was Powerade versus Gatorade. And so they sat there and they took like samples of things and they didn't know who the sponsoring company was, right? They didn't know, was it Gatorade trying to get this information or Powerade trying to get this information? And they would show them like little clips of commercials and just different types of things like that. So I used to do mystery shoppers. Has anyone ever done a mystery shopper? No one has ever done mystery shopper? Not even Marty? Oh my gosh. Okay, so mystery shoppers, I did one when my kids were really little. You can go, they tell you like it's a third party company and they tell you what they need you to do. And mine were usually restaurants or hotels. And it was a hotel in Flagstaff. And I had to stay in a specific hotel in Flagstaff between this state and this state. And you make your reservation and you pay for it up front. And then you have to fill out like a questionnaire when you're done, asking you specific questions. But again, it's a third party asking about this. And so the people at the hotel don't know you're a mystery shopper, right? And you don't tell them. And then you fill out this information, and then the company reimburses you all of your costs. So it was very nice. It was a free trip to Flagstaff, right? For restaurants here in town all the time. Yeah. So just in case that interests you, yeah, I'm very cheap, you can tell. So I just like to do things that don't cost me any money. But the idea behind that is it will get rid of that self-interest study right? Because it will be a third party who's looking at it instead. And so the third party reports back. Yeah. Okay, any other ones? Let's do one more.
This isn't, I guess, technically like a sample or like a, I was thinking jury duty, how they call you in and nobody can volunteer. So I guess that's kind of to prevent like voluntary bias.
Yeah, so the sampling bias that occurs when you just volunteer, so you don't volunteer for jury duty, but I do agree with there's a definite bias there because doesn't everybody do what Yesenia said and lie so they can get out of jury duty? Yeah, so I agree, Olivia. That's going to be a huge bias. So have you ever wondered why the convictions go the way they do? Who's sitting on juries? It's not necessarily a jury of their peers, right? It's all old, typically white people. That sounds terrible, but that's facts, right? And so do they have a bias? Probably. That's why it's supposed to be a jury of your peers. So if you're ever called jury duty, if there's any way you can serve on that jury, I highly recommend because we need that peer voice, right? We have different backgrounds and we need to hear and see that, So, and I disagree with some of our systems. Like Olivia said, sometimes you just can't go to jury duty, right? Because you're working or whatever. I got called for jury duty when I was 8 months pregnant and I had 3 kids at home already. And I was like, I don't know how this would happen. But my husband served on a murder trial here in town actually about 10 years ago, and it was a long trial. It was probably a 6-week trial. That's a long commitment, right? But he had a job where his job enabled him to go to jury duty and he wasn't, losing earnings or anything because that's a big problem. So I think if we kind of looked at our jury system a little bit better and made sure we got rid of those biases, our conviction rates would be very different and our punishments would be very different as well. So if you're interested in those criminal justice, I know we have some criminal justice majors, but we also have just people. Like, think about it. If it was somebody that there's inequity in the system and we need to correct this inequity somehow, and that we can't correct it by just going, can't go to jury duty, right? Like, we need to somehow work within this system. So these are interesting biases. So I want you, when you're looking at things, we just had an election, right? We just had an election where you as the consumer, we have so much information being bombarded to us daily. How do you know what's biased and what's not biased? And my husband would say everything is biased, right? Which is probably fairly true. But the biggest thing is look at your sources, right? Look at where you're getting from. At least take more than one source, right? Don't just always read one side or the other, right? Read both sides because there's probably some facts somewhere in there. Okay. Here's some other ones. Look at these 3. Perceived lack of anonymity, non-response bias, and loaded questions. Think about any of those. Can you think about any examples of those? I'll give you about a minute of those. You can read those definitions and then we'll talk briefly about this. All right, let's hear from some people that I never, ever, ever hear from. Yes. Okay, examples of any of these, or can you think of when you might have experienced it or seen it. People I'm looking for volunteering: AJ, Dom, Amanda, Amari, Ashley, Deshay, Aaron, Angelina, Jenday. Ashley, I'm ready.
I guess for loaded questions, when I was younger, my mom always gave us loaded questions when she wanted answers. So like if we broke something, and I have an older brother, so if we like broke something, she would always like kind of influence her questions towards like wanting to know which one of us broke it, to not like lie to her. So she'd like word them specifically and like give us the look. So I don't know if that counts.
Definitely counts. Moms are great at that, right? Loaded questions from mom are for sure, right? Because you were very careful at how you answered it. Yeah, and you can imagine on a survey, it could be written in a way so you answer a certain way. I used to, when I worked as a statistician before I was a teacher, I would analyze PhD students' surveys before they would administer them, and I would look for these loaded questions. And boy, oh boy, they're usually worded very poorly. Any survey you've ever filled out probably has a loaded question in it where it's leading you to answer in a certain way. So good one, Ashley. How about, what does perceived lack of anonymity mean? What does that mean?
Does it have to do with like someone lying about something?
It could be. So do you guys word anonymous? Do you know what that word anonymous means?
Unknown?
Yeah, it means you're not going to say who you are. So if there's a lack of anonymity, it means maybe they're going to know who you are. For example, teachers give surveys, right? At the end of the semester. I gave you the survey and you turned it in directly to me. You might think that I'm going to know whose survey came from who, right? You did this in elementary school. Your teachers could recognize your handwriting, right? So you were never going to write the truth, even if they said it was anonymous, because you knew they handwriting. So you weren't going to say, this was a lesson today. I didn't learn anything, right? Your exit tickets would be, maybe you would choose not to, not anonymous, right? You tell me who it is. Now, they're math questions, so I don't think they're really bad, but sometimes I ask you things like, what are you most worried about for the next test? You might be concerned to put it on there because I'll hold against you. I hope you don't think, because I would not, right? But have you ever filled out one and they're asking you how much money you make? And you're like, why would I fill this out? Like, why do you need to know that? Right? So that's a big one. Or your boss, right? Send you a survey. Are you going to fill it out honestly if they know who it came from? Probably not. Non-response bias, right? People who just refuse to fill out surveys. That's an instance we've had in our recent election with polling, right? Who answers polling questions and who does not. So that can really affect yours. Okay. So look at this question. Tell me if you can see any problem with it. Here's the survey. Should the mall prohibit loud and annoying rock music in clothing stores catering to teenagers? You see any bias in there? Yeah. If you had to say what's wrong with it, what's making it biased?
Would it be a loaded question?
It is a loaded question, right? Because they're saying right there, loud and annoying rock music. So it could be a loaded question. Now, I never ask you to classify the type of bias, even though I know more will, right? But on a quiz, I don't really care. I want you to just be an aware consumer. Okay. How about this one? Is there any bias here? To determine opinions on voter support for a downtown renovation project, a surveyor randomly questions people working in downtown businesses. Yeah, what's the problem?
They're just going to ask people who work in downtown and not almost everybody. It doesn't have to be just downtown people.
Yeah, exactly.
Get
And what
everybody's opinion.
good job, Jen Day. And what about the people who live downtown?
Exactly. Residents who live down there, not just work down there.
Exactly.
Bias.
That's perfect. So you don't think about it, but how are they doing their survey? This happens a lot, right? And then things get passed and you're like, wait a minute, did anyone ask me? I live here. And no one
Exactly.
asked me.
It's about the community, not just people who work there.
Absolutely, Jen Day. Good job. How about this one? A survey asks people to report their actual income and the income they reported on their IRS tax form. Any concern there? So do you notice, some of you probably have never filled out taxes yet, but they're saying report your actual income and then report what you told the IRS. Do you see what that might be a problem? You might say, oh, I'm not going to do that because then I'm going to get audited by the IRS, right? I lied to the IRS, which by the way, is probably not a good plan, just in case you're wondering, right? So that would be that perceived lack of anonymity. They're going to find me. They're going to know who I am. This is a hilarious one because I still can't believe it's in our textbook. When's the last time anyone's seen a phone book? Not me. Sometimes they still put them on my driveway and I'm like, why? Why are we printing phone books? You know, but you could tell this is a very dated question. A survey randomly calls people from the phone book and asks them to answer a long series of questions. Now, we could say a caller list, right? Anyone ever call you and say, can you just answer this survey for me? And you start because you think it's going to be 2 questions and then they ask you for like 20 minutes. Anyone see any problem with that? What happens? What do you do if that's you on the phone? Dom, what would you do if somebody called and said, can you answer this survey? It's going to take you 25 minutes to answer these questions. What would you do?
Ask if they take appointments.
Yeah. Would anyone hang up on them? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for being honest, Malachi. I look rude, like I'm the only person who would hang up on them. Seriously. None of you would hang up on them. All of you would answer, okay, Jen Day, thank you. Any of you would answer the 25-minute survey? Valerie, would you answer all those questions? No. Angelina, would you answer all those questions? No. Deshay, would you answer all those? No way. So that is the voluntary response, right? Or the refusal to respond. Who's going to answer those questions? My mom, who's 80 at home, right? Who's got nothing else to do. And then she'll tell me about it for 30 minutes too, right? She'll be like, oh, the nicest people called me today. And they were asking me if we should put blah, blah down the street. Okay, and I didn't answer the survey, so now whatever the stupid thing is going to go in down the street, and I didn't even want it because I wouldn't answer the survey. Yeah, so that's a problem, right? Oh, look at this. A survey asked the following: should the death penalty be permitted if innocent people might die? What's the concern there?
That's a loaded question.
That is a loaded question, Marty, for sure. Excellent. And AJ, for sure, that's a loaded question. We know their opinion right now, right? So, a study seeks to investigate whether a new pain medication is safe to market to the public. They test by randomly selecting 300 men from a set of volunteers. What do you think? Aaron, Deshay, Angelina, what do you think about this one?
It's just men.
Yeah, what's up with that? Don't they care about everybody? So they have a sampling bias, right? Now, I mean, maybe it's a medication for just men, but I doubt it because it just says pain medication, right? It doesn't say anything weird. So it's for everyone. So they have a sampling bias problem. Okay, this is one of my favorites. A research study funded by a shoe polish company found that scuffed shoes were the #1 reason not to hire a job applicant. Dom, you
serious right
smile.
now?
What, Angelina? Go ahead.
That wasn't me.
Oh, who was it?
That was me. That just made me mad. I'm sorry. That just made me mad.
So, but can't you see it, right? They advertise it in the
Really
paper.
scuffed shoes. Okay, so when you hire me and I get the job, you can pay me my money. I can get some new shoes. What are you talking about? Really
Yeah.
scuffed shoes? That's like saying, oh, your hair is not done, so you can't come to work.
Yeah, but did you notice who the promoter of the research study was? They're a shoe polish company. So they're promoting, oh, they're going to sell more shoe polish, right?
They should just scuff. They should just do my shoes and then hire me. It's not that hard.
Love it. Love it. So
Eddie.
good one. Okay. So believe it or not, that's all I had for today was to go over that. But now what I want you to do in your real life is you're going to see a survey. You guys see them all the time, whether you pick up something, I pick up groceries, right? And they send me a survey right after. I don't know if you fill out the survey. How many of you are little survey filler outers, right? Whether it's DoorDash or Yelp or whatever it is. And yeah, okay. So what I want you to do now is read how the questions are worded, right? Because you'll be surprised that there's a lot more bias out there than you realized. And you're going to be like, oh, maybe they should rephrase their question. I am classic for scratching out when we used to do paper pencil surveys in restaurants. They give you a little comment card or whatever. And I would scratch out the question and say, I'm not sure this question is going to give you the answer you want. So I'm a survey critiquer still, just in real life. So I just want you to be a consumer of data knowledgeably. Yes? Okay. So we don't get out for 15 minutes. I'm going to stay here for the next 15 minutes. My recommendation to you is you have homework. Yes? You have more S1 intro statistics, more practice. You could log on right now while you're still in Zoom class, do any of those questions, and I can help you with any of the ones you're struggling with. The other thing you need to do, and I should have put it on here too, you have a more reading assignment to do, right? Sorry, not more. You have a Canvas S2 reading assignment, textbook reading, and you have a more mini lesson due tonight. And you have your tutoring assignment, but that's not due till a week from Friday. So right now, I'm not going to be mad if you leave. That's up to you. But what I'm saying is if you leave and then I notice your homework's not done, I'm going to be like, oh, note to self, when you leave early next time, make class go long as it is. Give them no time in class to do their homework. Notice everybody's homework are all good. No worries. I'll give you more class time to get your homework done. Okay, because you really have 3 assignments that are due tonight. So how many did all 3? Did anyone do all 3 already? Be proud. Oh, look, Yesenia did. Valerie did. Woohoo! So Yesenia and Valerie, once you do your or you can stay if you had any questions, if there was something you didn't understand. And then the rest of you, you should log on, first of all, to remember if you have to do all those. And second of all, ask me any questions you need. Okay. But first, do the. All right. I'm just going to hang out here and be quiet for once. Okay. Good job today. And you can share your screen on more so we can do the question together. We can do lots of things. Okay. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Great job. Bye, AJ. Jenday and Amari, do you know how to access the assignments that you need to do? Jenday and Amari, did you hear me? And Angelina.
Yeah, I know how to access it.
Okay. Because I'm looking right now. I can see when you guys are in them, and I can see when you're working on them or not working on them. So I'm just checking those people. Oh, good. It looks like Angelina's in it now.
Because it was asking me for a ID.
It shouldn't ask you for anything because you're in Canvas, right?
Oh, in Canvas. Okay, I'm actually on the More website.
Nope. We do everything in Canvas.
Okay, that's what was wrong. Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
about
now
you?
I got it.
Okay, good. How about you, Amari? Are you good? Yeah. You know how to access them in Canvas? All right. So make sure you do your exit ticket if you didn't do it already. And you complete those 3 assignments all on Canvas before 11:59 p.m. tonight. Okay. They shouldn't take you too long. I see that a lot of you are finished or are working on it. So I don't know how many of you started right now, but you're making some progress, right? And because I don't accept late assignments. So make sure you get those done. Okay. All right, you're free to go. Good job today. And tomorrow we'll start presenting data graphically. Okay. All right. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.
If you've ever had kittens,